Hello and welcome to Remedial Rewatch Community 101. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 1 of a brand new property from media.slash.lit, a community rewatch podcast. Joining me tonight, of course, is my dear co-host, Randy Elaine. Hello, Randy. How are you tonight, buddy?
Kris, I am better than ever because every time I introduce an episode of Media Lit, I go back to my senior year of high school. I go back to Damn Yankees, where I had to open the entire production by yelling at a blank television, pretending to be angry at a baseball game. And I go right back there every time. So to sit back here and let your dulcet tones hit my ears instead was incredible.
Oh, buddy, I'm thrilled to be the first voice you heard tonight, but I'm not the last voice you're going to hear because it's not just us.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us is a familiar voice. If you listen to our coverage of my favorite film, Wild America, or if you go so far back with Media Lit that you remember our Are You Afraid of the Dark coverage, then you'll know our dear friend and now co-host, Tyler McCarthy. Tyler, how are you, friend?
I got a promotion, everyone. I'm good. I'm so happy to be here for this podcast. Community is like so many people, I'm one of those people. Community was a big deal for me. It hit me right at a very specific time in my life and has always been a very consistent through line. It's one of the funniest shows. It's one of the best written shows. And I'm so excited that thanks to Randy and the platform you guys built with Media Lit and Randy's meticulous outline and planning, we are going to cover the hell out of this show in the way it deserves. I'm really excited.
We sure are. And in this first batch of episodes, we're talking about season 1, episodes 1 to 12. And it wouldn't be a Media Lit if we didn't have a synopsis from the teacher himself, Randy Elaine. Randy, can you give us a cheat sheet on these first 12 episodes?
I sure can, Kris. Tyler, thank you so much for shouting out my meticulous planning. But one of my goals on this show is to really be true to the Greendale spirit and keep this simple, keep it quick. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm just trying to get by with my found family here.
Hell yeah.
So here's
so here's my scaled down cheat sheet, which I hope is worthy of Greendale Community College. Tonight, we are covering the first 12 episodes of Season 1, which originally aired from September 2009 to December 2009 in a very traditional old-school network release format. So here we go. A group of desperate community college misfits form a study group and proceed to drive each other absolutely bananas. Nevertheless, they can't help but pull each other back from the brink when it counts. By the time winter break rolls around, they are a ride or die family. They even learn a little Spanish along the way. That is your cheat sheet.
I could pass a test on that.
I think I could too. Unbelievable restraint, Randy. I don't know what to expect from you on this pod now. Truly shook. What a wonderful and incomplete synopsis of these first 12 episodes.
Randy pushes a very complicated corkboard out of frame. No, what? No, yeah, it was great. That's amazing. And for anyone listening or wondering, and they're a diehard Community fan, because we know this is a huge fan base, you might be wondering, you guys are doing 12-hour batches. Yes, you lunatics. This is a 6-season-long show. We can't do a podcast for every single one. Name one Rewatch podcast where they've done that and they stuck with it. Okay, now name 3 more.
Yeah, right.
So this is our way of making sure we get to everything and do not shoot ourselves in the foot from the get-go.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. This is my first time watching Community, but it's not your first time, Tyler, nor your first time, Randy.
No.
No, so I'm actually curious to hear your guys' thoughts on, your first impressions of Community, or at least, Kris, your first impression. Randy, I'm excited to hear you. Is this your second time ever rewatching it? Like you watched it during the pandemic, you said, and then no more?
Correct.
So
A couple favorite episodes here and there, but for the most part, this is only my second time through.
your first time doing it as a scholar, of course.
Exactly.
Right.
So
A Greendale study group scholar. Exactly right.
I'm going to dive us into our first segment, which is I See Your Value Now, which is I want to hear your guys' stories about watching these first 12 episodes for the first time. And then a little self-serving, I'm excited to share my story about watching this when it premiered and following it before it premiered back in 2009. But Randy, let's start with you just seeing, or no, actually, Kris, let's start with you seeing it for the very first time.
Yeah.
Like the very, very first time, right? So every one of these jokes is hitting me new. And so when I look back on this first watch experience, I think the memory that's going to be most tangible to me is going to be from this morning. I was flying from Boston to Kansas City, Missouri, and I had some time to watch Community. And I watched a bunch of episodes, both in the airport, shout out to Logan Airport in Boston, and on the airplane. And I can't imagine what I looked like to the people around me as I like sort of silently heaved with laughter, trying to contain myself. Headphones are on. Nobody knows what I'm watching. And there appears to be something wrong with me because this show is undeniable. Each episode, uncovers new layers. So I found myself on the airplane today, first heaving with laughter and then trying to hide my face so that the guy next to me didn't wonder why I was like shedding a tear. Because by that time, it was like obvious that I was watching Community. And I learned in these first 12 episodes, Community can do both. It can make you laugh. It can make you cry. It's been a wonderful experience through these first 12. Aside from the actual physical experience of watching it, I think the story experience that will sit with me most and I'll carry forward into the rest of my watch is like the initial getting to know you phase with these new friends. I'll form a relatively unhealthy parasocial bond pretty quickly. And like binge watching a show, especially an ensemble show, is a quick way for me to start feeling like I know these people in real life and these are my new friends that I like to spend time with. And this group especially nails that ensemble dynamic so quickly. Sure, you've got Jeff at the center and he's dynamic and he's a connecting point for the rest of the cast and a central point for the series. But every character is valuable and every person is somebody I've been excited to peel back the layers of through these first 12. It's been a blast.
Excellent. I love to hear that from someone whose opinions on this stuff I respect, from someone who consumes as much pop culture material as you. To hear as a Community fan, like, no, this thing works. You're not crazy. From you, Kris, is a big deal. Randy, tell me about your rewatch. Now that you're looking at this as the scholar you are, how did that go?
Yeah, there are a couple different ways that it hit me. In terms of the pure nostalgia and the pure feelings, like obviously I wasn't watching this when it first aired, like I mentioned earlier. But here's the thing. Some of the needle drops bring me back to college and those years in my late 20s when I was just getting started in my professional career. I wasn't married yet. They're hitting me with like the Fratellis, Whistle for the Choir. They're hitting me with Matt and Kim and all these things I would listen to with my college buddies when we still had time to just kind of like talk about pop culture. It brought me back to that time period that I was going off to see Rilo Kiley in Boston in 2007. And I just got to repeat that experience with one Kris Ingersoll. And also, since this was a COVID watch for me, the other way it hits me is just like Endgame was so fresh in my mind. And to watch this and know that so many people connected to this show became so integral to the MCU and the success of the MCU with the Russos and so on and so forth. It all made sense to me. Like it helped me see not only that I was watching a sitcom, but I was watching this family building really that Kris was just talking about. That's the secret sauce for all of these properties. So yeah, that's where I was at in terms of the history.
100%. There's something undeniable and weirdly special about this show, either like the ensemble, the chemistry with the cast, the writing, the insanely meticulous way that Dan Harmon and all the other minds behind it really like made sure that this wasn't a cookie cutter sitcom, despite what felt like maybe a lot of pressure to do so. I'm bringing to this project the perspective of someone who watched Community when it first aired. So I'm going to take you guys back to 2009. I was a freshman in college. And while I was technically at the University of Connecticut, some circumstances in my life made it so that I couldn't go to the main campus, which is in Storrs, Connecticut. Shout out to all my Mansfield friends. I was at Avery Point. It's a satellite campus of University of Connecticut that happens to be about a 2-minute drive from the home I grew up in. So I spent my freshman year of college kind of doing the community college experience. Like, shout out to Avery Point. It is a fine institution. A lot of people get a full degree there. It's a great place. Project Oceanography, like it has great stuff. But I didn't want to be there. I wanted to go with all my friends who were going and doing the dorm life experience and all of that. I felt very much like I was doing like the townie experience. And one day I'm doing some kind of like project late night at Avery Point. I'm on the campus. I'm doing my best to kind of feel like I'm in college. And we were all getting together at my friend Sam, shout out Sam Levesque, at his house. And we would just watch like the Thursday night lineup, which I believe at this time Community sort of entered into. And I was a huge Donald Glover fan. I followed the Derek comedy videos, his career like writing for 30 Rock. I was like, I'm following this guy wherever he goes. Now he's so hilarious. He's on camera. I got to see this show. So I was consuming all of the like previews on NBC, all the hype around it, all the variety articles, everything. I was so stoked for this show. I get to Sam's house and they're like, you got to see this show. And I was like, I know, I was going to suggest we watch it. Everyone who was there was about 6 or 7 people. They were all fine. They were at the moment in the pilot where they're all sitting on the steps comforting Jeff. They were all like, it's fine, run it back for Tyler. And they all just sat there and rewatched it from that moment on for me.
Beautiful.
And I could just tell from that pilot that like this is worth the hype. Like I feel like I have recommended a good one. Have you ever had that feeling where you're like, you're really excited for a project, you get people hyped about it, and then it lives up to it, and you're like, yes, I'm good at this. I didn't know I wanted to be an entertainment journalist at this time quite yet. I was still a few months away from that. But this was my first sort of like, we're in the zone of something special. And these first 12 episodes are exactly what you guys have been saying. They presented a lot of characters that I was like seeing the real archetypes of in real life, just going to the satellite campus. And it was just very comforting every time you got to sort of see a lot of these episodes that were like, the theme is essentially life didn't go quite your way yet. You're down, you're not out. Let's find the fun of where we're at. And that really helped me out during that freshman year when I could really use that attitude.
Absolutely perfect. I'm so glad that this met you at just the right time in your life. And no one knows what it's like to feel the thrill of a college recommendation like Randy Elaine. The number of stories I've heard of him passionately advocating for an album or a film as a way of socializing in college. Too many to count.
Yeah, I won't get deep into like what was on the DVD shelf in college in this particular episode. I'm sure it'll come around eventually. But guys, we watched 12 episodes of Community. We were just talking about how great they are, and we've got to try to cover them in like an hour, a little less than an hour. We'll see how we do. But I need help reacting to something. There is so much to cover. I just want to dive into this. Like, what were some of your favorite gags? What were some of your favorite moments of heart? What were some of your favorite themes? Stepping away from these 12 episodes, what's the first thing that hits you? Tyler, why don't you kick us off and we'll just kind of dip into our freeform roundtable here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, maybe it's just the nostalgia of it, but truly yesterday I fired up the pilot episode of Community, which I've watched several times just for nostalgia's sake and things like that. But just firing it up to watch it for this, Dean Pelton's like speech where he's really trying to hype everyone up for day one of school, and he's going through and he's just hitting like all the archetypes, and they're all turning to camera, and he's saying like, "Oh, you may have heard it's people who are down and out. It's old people. It's trying to keep their minds sharp." All of these kind of negative things, and he's like, "And that's what you've heard. But I wish you luck." And he's like, "Oh, sorry, can we just check our immediate area? I'm missing a card." That just got me. I'm laughing like it's the first time I've heard it. And there's also a part of me too that's like, we're freaking back, man. This is great. So I think that like that just opening gag just really sets the tone for the show. Here's who these people are. Here's the kind of humor we're dealing with. And, this is this is the kind of desperation maybe with which these characters exist in.
Yeah. And I mean, a ton of fun throughout those first 12 episodes that I've seen. The dean just holding so tightly to his passion for this school that he wants to see just Ivy League status, right?
Yep.
That running gag throughout the season is tons of fun.
And when you do go to a community college or a satellite campus or whatever, there are those faculty members who are just like,
Oh, yeah.
Harvard who? Like, yeah.
Right.
I'm so thrilled to hear you like have such appreciation for the dean, Kris, because the dean has not yet become what the dean is going to mean before we are done with this experience.
Yeah.
You're in for quite a trip, my friends.
Oh, wow. He means so much to me already. I'm thrilled to hear that.
Oh, that bodes well for this Rewatch podcast.
Nice.
You locked the dean this early.
But yeah, like for me, in terms of the big picture stuff, like this kind of connects to what you were saying, Tyler. I was just really struck by, I called them misfits earlier, but just like the sort of patchwork nature of this school, of this group of people. And you called me a scholar earlier, and I was just starting to see it more and more in the production design, right? Like, even if we're like, in John Oliver's office there's like a couch with like a million different prints on it. You've got people often like wearing mismatched colors or a sweater with multiple prints. Like there's this patchwork nature built into almost everything that happens. There's a montage that we might get into later where you have Irish music playing in the background while Troy and Abed sing somewhere out there. And there's just this patchwork merging of ideas that's just in the sauce at every turn. And I think thematically that was the biggest thing that hit me.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep an eye out for that from now on. Interesting.
Yeah.
The literalization of that patchwork theme.
And Kris, not to put pressure on you, but just hearing you experiencing this all for the first time, like you're about to speak and say what struck out to you, I have literal goosebumps. Just let you know.
Well, no, I don't want to let you down because I'm going to come in pretty basic, I think. I mean, the shows like this tend to be formulaic, right? And sometimes they're formulaic in a bad way. Sometimes they're formulaic in the very best way, in a way that feels comforting and familiar, right? On like Full House, there's going to be some sort of conflict in the household. Someone will make a mistake. The others will give them grace and accountability, and they'll grow through it, right? And there'll be like a resolution by the end. Jeff is going to be shitty for a period of time every episode. Like he's never going to get it right off the jump. And I've been loving this endearing journey of watching him get better at calling himself out before somebody calls him out.
Yeah.
Right? Like in the first several episodes, he needs somebody to point out to him that he's a selfish POS. And by episode 12, he's looking at the bracelet. He's coming to his own conclusion. Friendship does mean something to him. And so I'm excited to keep watching this. Like, I expect that to be the formula. Like Jeff is sort of the person who like doesn't really want to be there and doesn't really want to have these friends or admit that these are his friends, but they are. And he does want to be there, and he's finding just as much value in these connections as they are. So I've been enjoying watching Jeff grow and learning more about the other characters as each one gets their turn to kind of come alongside him and be his episode buddy for the given episode.
Yeah, that's incredible. As we continue this roundtable, I'm really excited just to dig into like what some of your favorite gags are, like both the moments that made you laugh and then also like on the flip side, like what are some of those individual moments that really tugged at your heartstrings, Kris? Because you were laughing and crying. Why don't you kick us off there too?
All right. So, I mean, I suppose maybe the embodiment of that concept is Abed.
Yeah.
Because Abed is constantly wrecking me. Like and even in an episode where he's supposed to be like being less conspicuous, he's like taking a back seat for the episode because he's living their lives like it's an episode of television. Yeah. Even then, every time he's on screen, he pulls a laugh out of me, like a laugh out loud laugh. Abed as Batman, coming from a deep, like I'm a hardcore Batman fan. It's hard for me to say Batman without slipping into my Batman voice. And so listening to Abed do his Batman, which was just awesome, watching them like lovingly poke at the tropes, the silliness of this character clad in black, dressed as a bat to scare criminals was chef's kiss. But then, it's early on. It's what episode 3. We get introduction to film, and we meet Abed's dad, and we get a glimpse into Abed's wider life. And I cried hard in episode 3. There are other episodes where just even as Pierce is tripping balls and he and Jeff have a heartfelt moment, Jeff has some words of wisdom for him and a desk for it. I'm ready to get choked up because I now care about these characters. But it was back in episode 3 that I learned that this show had that in its utility belt, for lack of a better metaphor, right?
I see what you did there, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you. That this show was going to take these characters seriously, right? That they were going to be silly. There are moments of pure over-the-top comedy, sometimes cringe, but we're taking these characters seriously. You can't care about something that is only a joke, right? And my gosh, Abed's ability to be the most human of them all, the most human of the human beings, is something that I've really enjoyed wrapping my heart all the way around.
I think I'm so proud of you for hitting I'm talking to you're a real life father. I feel like I'm fathering you through your community rewatch, and I'm proud of you, Kris, for hitting that, because I was just talking with my wife. What makes this show work is that Greendale gets to be an increasingly outrageous place occupied by profoundly sincere people. And I think Troy had a really great run in these episodes. I was particularly at the time when I first watched it really keeping an eye on Donald Glover, because he's who brought me in as a early YouTube internet comedy adopter. And he's also got my kind of humor, which is playing the fool. I think that's very funny. All of his lines are very fun. There's a moment in the 12th episode where Jeff says I'm too charming to ever get into a fight, insult me. And he just kind of goes, I can't. And he just shrugs it off. He's so sincere, though, when he has those moments at the end of the episode Football, Feminism, and You, where he's decided to play football, but he's going to do it on his own terms for these reasons. And he's admitting that he purposely messed up the keg flip to injure himself because he was nervous. And it's Troy is an idiot. Troy is not a smart man, but he's got such a good heart. And he's, kind of on the side of the angels that, like Jeff, where you're seeing him learn a little bit each episode to be better, you're seeing Troy learn a little bit, he takes a weird path to get there, but you see him learn from just the experience of getting out of this place where he was a king, and now he's been reduced to this as well. He too has a weirdly similar arc to Jeff. They just approach it so differently.
Yeah. And now he can admit that Abed is the best athlete on campus, even.
Yeah.
Be friends with someone like Abed. You get the feeling Troy was stuffing an Abed in a locker, but 6 months ago.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I shouted out that Fievel moment, but in that episode, Troy has his most profoundly selfish moment. He's being a friend means you help me. He's got no sense of there being a reciprocal nature to all of this, which is a bit absurd. But Donald Glover sells it because he's so in this persona, and it's beautiful. I'm looking at my list, and I have 2 big columns of favorite gags and favorite moments of heart, but so often they overlap. So this is a great moment for me to shout out Britta. I'm such a huge fan of Britta. She increasingly becomes a punchline.
Yes.
But she never stops being incredibly important to me. She never stops selling her character. And there is this genuine earnestness in her. She wants to be a good person. She wants to value the right things. But she has to accept that she hasn't really done what it takes to achieve those things just yet. She's coming to terms with that. And even though she's well-meaning, she can be naive. In other moments, she's incredibly smart. She has Jeff's number from the get-go. She knows exactly how to manage this man. And it's one of the best things to watch. But a gag that I think captures what I love about Britta, it's at the top of my list, one of my favorite little jokes in all of these first 12 episodes. It's going back to Introduction to Film, when Britta decides to sort of adopt Abed and make sure he can take this film class. And he's reading the check for $70. And he says, the memo says, for dreams. And it's a perfect little laugh, but it also tells you everything you need to know about Britta.
Yes.
I love that assessment of Britta. For anybody watching Peacemaker at home, I guess based on that little assessment, now she's giving me like the Teen Titans Go version of Amelia Harcourt from Peacemaker.
I love it.
She's like hardcore and seemingly very hard and inaccessible to those around her. She's got a keen eye for those around her, but not so keen an eye for looking back at herself. She's got to learn that one. I like that a lot, buddy.
I think in rewatching it, because Randy, we chatted a little bit briefly, and you mentioned how Britta does become more of a caricature over time. In the first 12 episodes, she is very much like, her utility to the plot is that she's got Jeff's number, like you said.
Yeah.
She's not falling for his stuff. She's challenging him to surrender to Greendale and the Greendale experience a little bit. But I guess like once you get past episode 12, that isn't a character. Being defined as, she's got another character's number isn't a character. And I think one of the moments I saw in these early 12 episodes that I think was very indicative of Britta going forward was actually a moment where I'm happy to bring it up because you also get to shout out Shirley and Yvette Nicole Brown. And it's the episode where she confronts Shirley for like kicking her out of like going to the bathroom together and like having a little like girl talk, because Britta's just not into it. She's not getting it. She's kind of being mean about it. She's being a little naive and selfish about it too. Like she doesn't realize how much she's insulting Shirley and all of that. And she confronts Shirley, and I think, so to put, close the book on Britta for the moment, that is a lot of what the character she will be going forward. She's too blinded by big picture stuff like consumerism, like all of these things, to really realize the impact she has on the people around her and how annoying that is. Yeah.
Britta, you sound like Guatemala.
Yes, exactly. She's way too blinded. She's way too big picture to like realize that the small picture is what matters. She thinks globally and fucks up locally. But I also love that moment because Shirley, I love the way Yvette Nicole Brown, Shirley's character is a lot of like, oh, that's nice. Oh, she's just like, the nicest mom in the neighborhood. And then Britta crosses her briefly, and you see this woman is a tiger, and she says, you can keep the bone you're throwing me, like, and all of this. And she just dresses her down completely, and then she is the first to really bring some vulnerability out of Britta and knows exactly what to do with it. And it's as goofy as not out here, in there. And I think that was just a great moment. It was a great moment to sort of showcase these two people as characters outside of the sort of utility that they brought to the study group to that point.
Yeah, you need those moments where these characters are paired with each other, not just with Jeff, right?
Yes.
Love when Shirley comes in to celebrate with her afterwards and just leaves poor Annie hanging on the hug because she's rushing by to hug Britta. Fantastic.
Poor Annie.
Yeah. You know what, though? I will say Allison Brie is somebody who I knew outside of this property and like been a huge fan of. Glow was like a revelation when it first hit streaming. I didn't know I didn't know Community Allison Brie. So I'm like watching her as Annie, I'm like, I know that face. I couldn't quite place her despite being a big fan. And I was like, oh my gosh. It was a pleasure to get to know her over the course of the season as well. One of my favorite quotes, it's said by Jeff, but it involves Annie because she's just such a character. I'm not having a conversation with someone who emerges from a bush.
I love that whole chat that they have.
Yep, it's a great moment.
Really tremendous.
I've ripped this off too in my like non-charismatic kind of mean moments when he says to her of like, profound but technically meaningless. I love that.
Brilliant. But then they try to share, or he's sharing in their wrongness. Well, I guess we were both wrong. Really? Because I'm an 18-year-old girl and you made me cry in public. Perfectly delivered. Like Allison Brie really manages to embody sort of like the naive innocence of this character, Annie, to tremendous effect, right? She's never somebody who you're threatened by, maybe later, but right now she's somebody that you're more concerned for. But I find every time that I'm a little concerned for her, she can truly hold her own, right? That was something I really enjoyed in the debate episode, when it looks like this guy's going to get the best of them in the end after all, right? It was going to be a bad news bears moment where we got the the good try, but we lose in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then she pulls Jeff in for the kiss and drops that poor paraplegic to the floor. And he wins the debate. Right. I mean, that's cold and that's callous and it's brilliant. And it shows like a real strength for that naive character who's sort of at the mercy of her own neuroses most of the time.
Yeah, I love that.
She's like, if your high school valedictorian, if there was like maybe like a 5 to 10% chance she could pull out a switchblade, like that's Annie. One of my favorite lines she had in this batch of episodes was, I was voted most likely to succeed in my rehab center.
Yes. I had that. Thank God I had just reminded myself. I'm watching like, it might have been episode 7 or 8. I couldn't remember why Annie was in community college, like based on the sort of type A nature of her character. And I had to go back and remind myself, oh, that's right. Little Adderall Annie, this poor child. She's got this whole backstory.
Mm-hmm. And she like, and that's what's great about the show too. Again, not to keep like flashing my credentials as someone who sort of did this for 1 year, but there are the like overachievers that like every single person at a community college or a satellite campus has the story of like why they're here. It's a little like what I imagine prison is like, where everyone's like, I'm innocent, but here's how I got railroaded into being here. And like that's Annie's, and Troy's got his, Abed kind of has his, Jeff has his. They're all it's very important to everyone's story there. Were there any other gags that really got to people, just like full on? I will shout out, just because it's been stuck in my head since 2009. Annie and Troy's conservative high school shamefully outdated fight rep songs.
Yes.
The way Donald Glover gets sincere when he says it's Bing Bong Sing Along, your team's Al Gore because your views are wrong. He like really like locks eyes with the girl he's singing to. It's so funny.
And it means nothing to him other than a fight song.
Yeah.
Is like the best part. Like it's just this like indoctrination.
I don't think he's old enough to know who John Kerry was or Al Gore, really. He's just, but that's what you sang before a football game, I guess.
Right. A politically conservative fight song.
Well, like
brilliant.
Before we stray too far from Annie, one of my favorite jokes in the first 12 episodes is when she's struggling to tell Troy how she feels about him, and he can't see it. He's blind. Going out with a Randy, as I've said many times, Randys are always the worst. No, she does nothing wrong in this episode. She is just Troy's cool date. She's in the wrong place at the wrong time. But when, instead of saying something, she's helping him with the date, and she brings her grandmother's blanket and she's like, can't even make it through. She's just like, this is the blanket that my grandfather used to court my grandmother. And it's just like such an absurd way to show like how much she has thrown herself into this and refuses to accept the problem. And then to just undercut it with Troy's follow-up line, like, that's hot.
Right. Right.
And also, too, when he mentions, that he, in the episode, have you ever, like, only seen someone one way and then decided, like, maybe you want to see them another way? Yeah. And he's like, I can't believe I led you or steered you wrong like that. Randy can be a boy or girl.
Right.
He says led you on. He specifically says, I'm sorry, I can't believe I led you on like that.
And that's that sincerity we're talking about, where his heart's in the right place. He's just not getting it because he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah. It's just missing wide.
I love that episode too. It's also a good episode because they kind of deal with Annie's crush on Troy, which, not to spoil anything, Kris, they kind of get rid of in a big hurry.
Makes sense, right? Like, it can't. How can they exist around each other if she's like truly kind of like going to pieces around him the entire time for 6 seasons?
Yeah, exactly. And go ahead.
True love is Abed.
Right.
150%.
The first time we got a couch, a post episode couch wrap from those two, I like sold. Take all my money. Give me more of this show. I'll watch every episode for the rest of my life if it's going to be full of that kind of charm.
Would you like to hear the full rap that they do? Because I know it.
You can't do it.
I 100% can, but I'm going to save it because I can also do the payday rap in season 5, and you only get one rap per podcast.
Okay, I'm not going to cash in those chips just yet. If you tell me there's more to come,
you want to
I
save
will
it for
wait.
payday.
Okay.
Beautiful. I did bond with a student in real life a couple of years ago because I was walking down the hallway and I could hear one of my students doing the rap.
The Biblioteca rap?
Yeah.
Hell
And
yeah.
I'm just like, Troy and Abed in the morning, which is coming your way, Kris. You'll be there soon.
Give that kid
Cool.
an A.
Cool.
Did you say cool on purpose just now?
I did.
I love it. Thank you. You're the best.
One character I'm curious whether or not they have a real life equivalent on the campus, Tyler. I like that you've been giving us sort of like the idea that there's some stereotypes at play that really manifest in real life. There can't be a Pierce on every campus, is there?
There is an older person who gets welcomed into the school community. There absolutely is.
Okay.
For me, and truly, like, may he rest in peace. His name was Harry. He just would go and he would take these classes just to keep his mind sharp. He, I think had money and just that was what he chose to do with his life. He was a great guy and he would always organize hangs. He would always like get people like, hey, we're all going to go see this movie. Like everyone on Friday, let's just go. We'll see this movie. Hey, everyone on Friday, we're all going to go to this restaurant. Like, let's just do it. I met my guy who was best man at my wedding, lived with Harry. And like, that's how, so there is like an older guy there who just has money, is doing this and no one quite knows why. But they're not all bad people the way Pierce
right, okay.
kind of is.
There you go.
But yeah, every campus has a older person and we just don't ask why they're there. We either accept them or they don't.
Okay, that I believe. That I can buy. That by that very broad definition every campus has their sort of Pierce. It's the horrifying nature of his character sometimes that I was most curious about because he's like maybe it's the Chevy of it all that makes me kind of be like, I actually might not like you. But Pierce is the only character who throughout like really toes the line, even with the misfits. He's the misfit that the other misfits are kind of wondering like, oh God, do we want to be around this guy?
Yeah, the real life Pierces are either in prison or at seats of government.
Oh, yeah, chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. When he's vulnerable, I enjoy him very much. Right when he's,
and he does. You can time that out.
Sorry.
That's another thing I love about this show. He ends up doing it in 28 seconds exactly.
Yep.
Amazing. I did really enjoy when he had that bad trip dressed as the Beastmaster. That was pretty wonderful. And that was when I appreciated the character most because I had been a pretty big Pierce hater up to that point where it's like, he's just dangerous. He's dangerous in so many different ways. But when Jeff gives his assessment of Pierce to Pierce, and maybe part of it's just a pep talk, but he says, if life is just a series of ridiculous attempts to be alive, then you are a hero to everything that's ever lived.
Yeah.
First of all, I can't imagine if somebody actually said that to me with sincerity in life, how that would impact me. I can't imagine further if I was in the midst of tripping balls and somebody said that to me, the way it would rewire my brain and change the way I saw myself forever.
If you are a community fan out there screaming at the podcast now, we just want you to know we are aware of like the real world implications of the Chevy of it all. And we decided we're going to grant ourselves the space to put that aside. And we're going to deal with that as part of a deeper research paper episode, a little bit deeper into this run.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as Pierce, the character, like, even Pierce gets his moments. I mean, part of what he's doing there is he's kind of like a worst case scenario of what a Jeff Winger could become. Like part of the gag is that Pierce sees himself as Jeff's equal. And, certainly he was never as much of a smooth talker as Jeff Winger, but he could pull his weight in certain circles once upon a time. Jeff makes a comment, 7 different women agreed to marry him.
Exactly.
Like, what's going on here? And possibly it might be Pierce's most honest moment in the entire series, but like at the STD awareness session, when he admits that his girlfriend dumped him and it's going to cost him $200 to continue the date, and he's just kind of like, yeah, I really screwed this up. He's like, fair play on her part to see him like see himself with that much clarity, to know that that's in there somewhere. Those are the best moments you can get from Pierce, when he pushes all the bullshit aside. It's like he's doing Jeff's thing, several decades later.
So true.
As seasons go on, he does become kind of like a villain within the show. And I think that was just the fact that Chevy Chase, the actor, had sort of one foot out the door. But in these early episodes, you're absolutely right. The moments where he shows Jeff what you can accomplish when you just get rid of the facade of vanity, I think are some of his best moments. And because there's so few of them compared to the other characters, when he sort of demonstrates his value as a person and not just like what he views himself to be. I'm thinking in particular when he coaches Shirley on how to give like the good presentation. It's like, Pierce was maybe giving like cocaine fueled presentations like in the 80s and 70s and things like that. But the guy knows a thing or two, and it did work. In that beautiful montage, like you said, with the Somewhere Out There playing. And I mean, I think pound for pound watching, that ended up being my favorite episode of the whole thing, just because it was one of the few that took the focus away from Jeff as the main character and really focused on our ensemble. You've got Troy realizing what it is to be a friend to someone he like probably wouldn't have looked at in high school. You've got Pierce demonstrating some value. You've got Shirley sort of finding her confidence. You've got Jeff going so far down the Greendale rabbit hole, as far as you can go by getting into Senor Chang's personal life. And finding out you can find some fulfillment in helping even these lost souls. There's so much going on in that scene, all scored to a song that has no business being as good as it is.
Yeah, they harmonize so beautifully. Yeah. I'm glad somebody finally uttered Senor Chang's name on this podcast. I can't believe we got this far into it without talking about him. Is it a gimmick that everybody is pronouncing Senor like senior, like a senior in high school? Is that a gag, or is that just?
I think that's just white people.
Just white people at the time. Fair. Because I couldn't tell.
The Tigre?
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it's because they're all like that bad at Spanish, and even he isn't correcting anybody in how to like appropriately pronounce Senor. They're all saying Senior Chang the whole time.
I'm glad you brought up El Tigre, because this is confession time. What I'm about to confess may be kind of problematic. I hope not. But the speech where you first meet Senor Chang, and he's doing the whole speech of like, people ask me why you teach Spanish. Why you? They say it just like that. And he says, my knowledge will bite her face off and all of that. I was such a community nerd that I did that monologue as an audition for a play in college.
Yes.
You better believe I got that part.
My man.
Love it.
I still know it. I still know the whole thing. The amount of things I can sort of sing along to in Community in terms of both monologues and actual songs is insane, I'm learning.
Wonderful.
But yeah, it was me, the whitest man in America, doing a monologue from the perspective of an Asian man who teaches Spanish expertly.
Right.
Well, when we're on that note, I was thinking we are going to get into like, our favorite episodes, the characters that we think maybe won this batch of episodes. But before we do that, does anyone have like a last gag or moment they want to shout out that they're not going to be able to sneak into some of those other sections?
I'm checking, going through a quick run of my notes real quick. I do think another great Annie moment is when they're convincing Jeff to do something, and he's like, "Oh well, I don't need a good grade in Spanish. I have all of you." And she's like, "Well, this gravy train is leaving the station," and she starts doing the train, and Troy like won't even look at her and goes, "Ignore what she's doing. We are serious." That gag always gets me. I think that's so fun.
Alison Brie again, so brilliant.
And I also, in that episode, it's got where Shirley, Senor Chang's tells them that they all have to write like a 2-page essay on the consequences of challenging authority in Spanish. And Shirley goes, "This is a Spanish 101 class. I know how to say today, tomorrow, and that tables are female." I think that's such a good joke.
A 20-page paper on ignorance.
Exactly.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
That was it.
I've got to confess that Senior Chang, the lengths that they have that character go do not always work for me as well as some of the other bits on the show. However, there are moments like when Annie fails to put her pencil down on time, and he just drags her entire desk out of the room with her in it and shuts the door. It's one of the greatest moments.
And that is like that episode though is meant to be the culmination of his sort of true villain arc for them as the Spanish teacher for this season. It's what brought them together. His sort of absurdity in the classroom, and it peaks.
Chang won't get more villainous than that.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. But for these 12 episodes, like Jeff is able to heal that part of him. He remains a menace on campus after that for the remaining couple of episodes. He's there to mock the STD fair and everything else. But like him as antagonistic, horrifying teacher, dragging people out and giving 20-page papers in this next breath seems to have settled for the moment.
There are spoilers for later on in the project. There does come a time where Chang, the character, gives a monologue where he's trying to humanize himself once again. That actually came from the actor sending an email to Dan Harmon being like, I think we've gotten a little far out there with the Chang character.
You're right.
Oh, that's cool. He gets very arch, and I'm excited to see you go down this rabbit hole. But as Kris or as Randy alluded to, we are going to talk about and do not necessarily rank, but really pick out some favorites. Oh, Kris, you had something?
Sorry, I had just one last thing I had to say, because this for me is the embodiment of how silly this show is. The human being mascot. I can't believe it was featured once. I could absolutely then believe when it came wandering through the halls at other times later in the season, and I realized, this really is our mascot now. A perfect encapsulation of how silly this show is going to be, I think.
Yes, and I love that he, spoilers, he will keep showing up, or they will keep showing up, the human being. And if you haven't watched the episode where they solve racism by being incredibly racist, you're just going to see this monster walk across screen and they're not going to explain it. It's great.
Can't seem to hear that well. They have to talk right into his ear.
Was it this batch? Or forgive me if I'm spoiling an upcoming joke, but I think they mentioned that the fumes from the magic marker also make whoever is in it very high.
I don't think that's been mentioned yet.
Oh my god! I'm like mostly ready to move on to the next segment, but I just have to share one last thing, which is the one thing I put in all caps in my notes. I am an English teacher by day. Naturally, I love the film Dead Poets Society. So the first time I ever saw the episode where we meet Professor Whitman attempting to just do a full Robin Williams Dead Poets Society class in the most absurd and stupid way possible, like telling everyone they're going to die, but like missing the point of that monologue, having them throw their books across the room. Listen, in almost 20 years of teaching, I have resisted the urge to ever actually try to do a Dead Poets Society lesson word for word. I have contemplated doing the thing where they kick a soccer ball and read a line of poetry, but I've not done that yet. But Professor Whitman, and then maybe the best joke in the entire series, the slow burn, is after Jeff has his confrontation with Professor Whitman and you don't know what the class is, and he says, "This is no way to teach accounting."
Yes.
It's not even an English class, and it's incredible stuff.
This guy's just going through something, and this accounting teacher has decided he is now Robin Williams in Dead Poets Society. There's tons of, you'll see a few more as the show progresses. I love every time they allude to the fact that Greendale is a crazy place. And while we follow this one study group, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's when Ben Chang is like, everyone in this class will get a 0. And then he just points to a random person in the front row, except you, Toby. And he just strokes his chin. Who is Toby? What relationship do they have? Why is he immune? I love it.
That's brilliant.
But, even the infighting with him and John Oliver's character during the trial.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jockeying for position at the community college.
And just him raising his leg so that he's sporting quite a lot of leg when he's giving his testimony is just hilarious and weird. I think it's just Ken Jeong being
Yeah.
impeccable.
Yeah, impeccable.
But speaking of singular characters and their moments and this crazy ensemble cast, I want to get us into our next segment, which is, Kris, this segment name will mean nothing to you yet, but who popped? Who was the person in this batch of episodes you think sort of deserves the most accolades? Who won the batch, if you will?
Pop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Randy, I'm going to start with you. Who's your takeaway? And we can all have the same, but we honorable mentions here and there. But
okay, it's a 4-way tie for me. It just kind of comes down to like which way I want to get at this.
Randy's just reading from the IMDb list of cast.
Like,
right.
I think I know who Kris is going to want to say, so I'm going to go in a different direction to keep that character on the table.
Little poker here, playing the man. I like it.
Oh my goodness. I've had a chance to talk about almost every single one of these people. Oh my gosh. All right. I haven't given him a lot of gags. So I think I'm just going to come out and say Jeff Winger. He's got to teach us what this show means, not only as a comedy, but as a show that is trying to encourage him to become a better person. It's the second episode when you see him waltz into the study group and like Abed's offering to park his car for him. And you can just see that he is working this group of people so much. They've latched on to him, and he has seen how he can, spin that to his own advantage. To see him go from there to someone more humble, right? Like maybe his most meaningful moment of growth in the first 12 episodes, maybe not the whole series, but in the first 12 episodes, that moment where he goes into his phone, where he has all these dehumanizing, nicknames.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if this inspired the most recent rendition of Jimmy Olsen. What was it? Mutant Toes?
Mutant Toes.
But yeah, just to go in and change, Britta from like hot blonde Spanish class to Britta is such a clear sign of who he's trying to become. And if he doesn't sell that, it doesn't work. If he doesn't sit there and take Ryan Seacrest jokes and, E-News jokes, we don't get the rules of this show. So I've got to give it to Jeff.
He's a very perplexing character in these 12 episodes too, because he is a profoundly selfish man, and he is so good at manipulating people. But that opening monologue, or not opening monologue, rather, the monologue he gives the study group when he needs to get them all to stop fighting and seeing each other as humans, it's called the Sharks, Pencils, and Ben Affleck speech.
Yeah.
And he's doing it for selfish reasons. He's doing it so that they'll shut up and Britta will feel good about going and having dinner with him so that he can sleep with her. But he's also genuinely making them all feel better and feel good about being at Greendale and things like that. And like that's what makes Jeff perplexing, is that he could be a bad guy, but the byproduct of him using his superpower is often good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by episode 7, like, it's irrefutable. When they need him, he's going to be there. He's got the statistics professor locked down. They're on their way to the car, to the place, wherever it's going to be. And then Pierce needs his help. And his friends come running out and they say, we need you. He needs you. You're the only one who can help. How do you know? And Pierce literalizes it. Is that Jeff? He's the only one who can help. It's amazing. But he does. He's already ready to make that choice.
Yep.
Well, not to mention, like, we get a couple of signs of how vulnerable he is, both in Abed's film and also when he's at his lowest point living in his car and he moves in with Abed. Like, he very casually, like, reveals that he's been, like, abused and abandoned as a child his entire life. So, like, there's a dark past there that he's really working hard to cover up. So
yeah, he's a man who used success and vanity. He's talking about his like expensive Italian faucets and all of this stuff. He got into the profession of legality, which like it makes him a hero for a day. Everyone loves their lawyer for a day when they get them out of a traffic ticket, and that's it. And what we're seeing from him is that he's learning all of that stuff can go away like that. When they find out your degree is from Columbia and not America, it goes away. And he's lived his life like trying to find things that he can surround himself with. And now here he is with this study group that no matter how much he tries will not go away. And he's sort of learning to surrender to that. And that's like the whole show. And I think it's so complex and beautiful. And you know, this is a tired comparison, but like, you know, The Big Bang Theory could never.
Yeah.
Well said.
Kris, who in this batch of episodes popped for you?
I've already given him quite a bit of love, but I can't deny Abed. And here's where I want to talk about not just his own intrinsic humanity, maybe the most human of these human beings, but the way he's able to see that humanity in everybody else. Like, it seems like Abed, very quickly, before these people even know themselves, Abed has really got their number. Like, we think Britta has got Jeff's number. Like, Abed, we see it in Debate 109.
Yes.
His short film seems to be now predicting the future in really specific ways, which he denies until he's kind of freaked out even by his own powers by the end of the episode. But really, the commentary.
There's a full moon tonight, and he's Shirley?
Yeah, my guy, let's take this bacchanalia out beneath the full moon.
Yeah. But there's something so beautiful in that, and somebody who's so in tune. You have to really be paying attention. You have to really care about the people around you to notice the kinds of things that inform such prescience. It's not clairvoyance. It's deep empathy that allows him to see these people so clearly.
Yeah. He'll sit there for 28 hours for a friend.
Because that's what friends do.
Yeah.
That's what friends do. Yeah, so whether it's like learning to prank and learning how to be the kind of friend that Troy wants and needs, or learning to stand up for himself when it comes to his passion for making films, Abed is very easily like in my top 10 my guys.
Yeah.
Now, all time. It's a brilliant performance. It's totally honest. It's never over the top, right? I think Abed is a character that is on the spectrum somewhere, right? Like, this is a person who experiences the world differently than the average brain, and it's never played for laughs in a crass way, in a stereotypical way. Like, he is a authentic character on the page and on the screen. And shout out to the actor. How do I pronounce his last name?
Pudi, Danny Pudi.
Yeah,
Danny Pudi. Okay, I thought so, but didn't want to be wrong. And anyways, Poo in the last name is, you don't want to be wrong and put a Poo in a name that doesn't have a Poo in the name.
My hesitation there was like Nadir. No, wait, that's the character name. Hold on.
Yeah. So Danny Pudi is really wonderful. Like I said, he's playing it totally straight the entire time in a way that really, really works.
Yeah. That actor came out of nowhere, and you'll see as the episodes go on too that Abed is far and away the breakout character from Community. It's obviously like Jeff Winger is positioned as our lead character, but if you ask a Community fan, like who like the embodiment of the show is, it's far and away Abed. And I love that you brought up that episode too. I used to hate the sort of meta quality of him making a movie about the characters in as early as, what is that, like episode 7 or something like that. It's like, that's the kind of gag I feel like is typically reserved for like season 7 of a show. But no, I think it does a great job of positioning Abed before he was a more, like you said, neurodivergent. I heard the term neurospicy lately, and I think that's very fun too.
I like neurospicy quite a bit. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I've heard that.
As this neurodivergent character who's sort of like playing catch up with everyone else in the group. And then that's the episode where you learn like, oh, he's not catching up. He's on his own road. No one else is on. Like, Abed has his own thing going on. I love that.
Yeah. And you still have so many of the top Abed moments yet to come.
Oh, yeah.
Despite how fantastic it's been already. So
he's already been Batman. I can't imagine what more he's going to do to climb into my heart. You know, he's already.
Oh, man.
So much.
Yep. He'll make your heart grow 3 sizes. Wait till we get to the Christmas episode. My goodness.
When he actually dragged Pierce and Jeff out of that crumbling desk fort, I was like, yes.
He's the best. And the way he like went behind Jeff's back to really get Britta to help him and things like Abed gets these people.
Oh,
He does.
I think Abed gets people, but hasn't really like made moves when it comes to other people until he's found this community. And I think we're seeing him break out of his shell, which I love.
I love that. So Tyler, for this batch, are you doubling down on Abed, or do you want to bring us a third character? Who's going to get your award? For
me, and I alluded to this a little, so I won't go too long, but I really think Donald Glover's Troy Barnes, I think he crafted such a full character from the get-go. Even in the first episode, he's like really reflecting on his Letterman's jacket and all of this stuff about like, if I take it off, it's for them. If I keep it on, it's for me, all this stuff. And he presents himself as a guy who clearly didn't learn a lot in his life leading up to now, but he's so open to learning new things. He so wants to like find the path to be a good person. He just takes it a little differently. He's just not very smart, but he's got a good heart. And I think we see the extent of where that can get us. And truly, he's just responsible for some of the funniest lines. He's got confidence. And I think even in these 12 episodes, we see him go on a great sort of mini arc that they're really hanging a lantern on Jeff going through this of surrendering to the Greendale experience, surrendering to the fact that you're not who you were before you started at Greendale. And I think for me, I do and I don't know if it's just the music crescendoing or what, but I get goosebumps the moment he steps out and starts doing his part in the duet with Abed to lure Fievel, the rat that he hates and is afraid of, out of the wall because he knows he hurt Abed. And he likes Abed and he doesn't want to be guilty of hurting anyone. And so he's doing this thing that he absolutely hates. He's learning that friendship, like you said, Randy, is indeed a two-way street and not just everyone loves you because you're popular.
Yeah.
He's learning how to be a man, and we'll see, his arc on the show sort of ends with an ultimate test of like how to be a man. And I think that we're really seeing the seeds of that, and just knowing where Troy ends up. I give all the credit to both like Dan Harmon, the writer, and Donald Glover for, if you told me that they thought of this, the entirety of Troy's arc from the get-go, I'd believe you because all the seeds are there.
Yeah, and like we were just shouting at Danny Pudi, like just shout out to the writing and the performance. They never have to explain to us that Troy and Abed are friends. They appear on that couch together for the first time and it does all the work. You get it. Like every moment they share is earned. Every fight that they have is earned. You just believe they are best buds despite coming from such different backgrounds. And I love that. It's magical.
Yeah, they never have to sell you that they're friends. They do a little work to sell you that they're soulmates, as we'll say.
Yeah, like there could have so been an episode where it's like a jock and a nerd becoming friends, but they don't. They don't make you sit through something dumb like that.
I think it's an example, and I know we're coming up on our time, so I won't get too into this, but what we're seeing, and I think we'll talk about it a little more in the next batch of episodes, is on paper to sell a show. Like if you look at New Girl or something like that, if you've ever watched that show, is it really about like a new girl moves in and then the dynamic of the apartment changes? No, it's like an ensemble comedy. And I think this show did a really great job of, on paper, you've got, Jeff and Britta will have a will they, won't they? Oh, Annie and Troy will have a will they, won't they? And then they get boots on the ground and they see where their chemistry actually lies. And look, Jeff and Britta, they don't have good romantic chemistry. Troy and Annie don't have good romantic chemistry. Somehow, not romantic, but like Troy and Abed have insanely good chemistry. Shirley and Pierce have like great chemistry, and they lean into that more going forward. And for better or worse, Jeff and Annie have a weird romantic chemistry that they kind of play around with. And I think adapting like that, my lord, my lady, gross. Adapting like that is one of the things that makes Community so strong.
Yeah.
The head pat is a pretty funny diffuser of that tension.
just pat me.
Just pat me. Something very admirable in that for both of them, right? That like they can sense the tension, but both say, but we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You left your phone.
I'll buy a new one.
My goodness. All right, folks. We've gone quite deep on these episodes, and we'll find plenty of excuses to go back, I am sure. But just before we say goodbye, we've shouted out almost every episode, but just real quick, I'd love to know everyone's favorite episode from the batch. Kris, I think I know yours, so let's hear it from you first.
This feels actually impossible. I'm glad you know mine because I don't know mine. I am. I'm gonna stick with Introduction to Film, because this is where we have Professor Whitman, which is a tremendous addition to the ensemble, to the greater campus experience. I do really love that whole shtick, fun side story for Jeff and for Britta, but it's the Abed episode with his dad. Like I said, this was the one that really showed me how much heart this show could have, would have. As an honorable mention, I'm not sure if anybody else is going to shout out Social Psychology. Either of you going to pick episode 4? Because to me, they're the perfect bundle. So I'm gonna pair them with a Smuggle there, because you get this heart. And yes, that episode has its irreverence and has its laughs, as well as this deep, meaningful conclusion for Abed and his father. And then we get into Social Psychology, which brings us right back to some absolutely absurdist stuff.
Yeah.
And when Annie is trying to assist with that experiment with Troy and with Abed and Senior Chang, I remember my sides hurting watching that and watching Abed continue to sit and sit and sit. And yeah, those two together is a somewhat of a juxtaposition, is wonderful. Really great example of this show as a whole.
I'm so glad you mentioned Introduction to Filmmaking, because you're like the when his film starts playing and it's literally something that could have been made in Microsoft PowerPoint. Like, it's not a good film, at all. When that gag washes away like a couple seconds in, and you realize you're watching the story of this child feeling abandoned by his mother, and it's like, only Community could package such a gut punch in something so profoundly ridiculous. Randy, how about you? What's your favorite episode of The Batch?
Yeah, I actually landed on the same episode, and it really is because of the power of that moment. Like, all of the Abed comedy beats work. All of the meta stuff does work for me. But it's the moment that establishes what you said earlier, Tyler, that he is on his own road. Not only did he find a way to communicate to his dad by getting 2 new people in his life to like fall perfectly into the roles that his parents once played. He's both reaching his dad, bringing him to tears, and also articulating to Jeff and Britta that they don't quite understand his history or what's going on. Because he's really pushing their buttons that whole time. Like, he knows he is pissing Britta off as he spends her like hard-earned money that she's handed to him, buying pizzas for the group and everything. And then that all caps the Professor Whitman, the Dead Poet Society thing happens to be bundled in there as well. So I that had to land at my number 1, but it's a stiff competition. Where'd you go with this one, Tyler?
So yeah, upon rewatch, obviously, Introduction to Filmmaking, I'm glad you both shouted it out because it's a terrific episode. I think this is an honorable mention, but I'll just say that I think Community has, like, it may be the perfect sitcom pilot. I think it's such a strong episode, such a strong showing. Sharks, Pencils, and Ben Affleck is a really like good monologue. It at least at that time, it was nothing I'd seen on TV before. The way it was willing to give you laughs and then the emotional punch. Small shout out to the fact that when he says, "I can say this pencil's name is Steve," and snap it, and you all die a little inside. I'd never noticed this before in all my many watches of it. When it cuts back to Abed, he's trying to put the pencil back together. I think that's so sweet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite episode of The Batch is, and I mentioned it a little earlier, so I'll give it a light dusting, but Environmental Science. That's the one with the, Senior Chang's really coming down hard on them. They reluctantly ask Jeff. It's got the chugga chugga gag. It's got the song that's incredible. But it's also one of the ones that breaks away from sort of, we're doing all of this through the lens of Jeff. We're following Jeff and all of these wild people around him. You've got like the B story of Shirley and Pierce, like doing the presentation. You've got Troy and Abed, like really solidifying their friendship, and you're seeing Troy do all of these beautiful things for a friend. You've got Jeff, you still follow Jeff, but you've got him expanding into this like Senior Chang thing. And if you look at the guy in the pilot and say, in a few short episodes, you're going to be in Senior Chang's office pretending to be his drinking buddy and coaching him through his divorce, it's like, that's insane. This guy wouldn't do that. But throughout the show, you've just seen him surrender to the Greendale effect, and he'll continue to do so as the show goes on. And I just thought that ending, that song, showing all of that coalesce into everyone learning a bit of a lesson about each other and learning to let people in, and the joys of helping people instead of judging them, I think really comes together in an episode that's also just wall to wall, insanely funny gags. So yeah, I think I got to give it to that one. It's just a great bit of television.
Great choice.
You devious clump of overpriced fabric and hair product.
You handsome hobo.
I love that they're all chatting to him and they're like, I vote we all look at Jeff at the same time. Then like Jeff like looks up from his phone and goes, in a way, you're all right. Yeah. Okay, what was I tuning out?
Yeah, what was I tuning out?
He realizes like, all right, that's not going to work. So what is going on here?
That wasn't it. A couple of episodes we didn't talk about in this regard. So really quick, I just want to ask you guys, can I expect to see more of the standard sitcom kind of like holiday episodes? I really enjoyed getting the Halloween episode and the holiday episode for Christmas / Hanukkah / whatever else you want to bring to the table, according to Shirley. We're going to have a few more of those in the mix.
I can't remember if season 2, if they do a Halloween episode or if they do maybe the greatest Halloween episode in television history. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Yeah, I know there's at least one more Halloween episode that I recall in great detail.
Yes, no, good, they do. Good. They do a lot of the there's a lot of Christmas episodes, Halloween episodes.
Yeah.
When they start flirting, I think it's like around season 3, when they start flirting with like every episode might be our last, they stop paying attention to the calendar, I think, as much.
Yeah.
But you do get your classic sitcom, especially in season 2, your classic sitcom holiday episodes.
Cool.
And they're doozies.
Great. Yeah. And they've got so many new tricks up their sleeve that you'll get to still experience for the first time, even in the next batch. So
yeah. When I tell you, I'm thrilled to see you've liked these 12, because truly in watching them, we've only scratched the surface. And Randy, again, shout out for finding this format. I think we've hit such a great stride. And if you're out there listening and you're like, they didn't cover this, that, and the other thing, why don't you start your own community rewatch podcast, fella?
Yeah, don't make us write a song about you.
Yeah. If you're like, oh, there's so much behind the scenes. Did any of them even listen to every single episode of Harmontown twice? Yes, one of them did. So.
Well, to the podlings at home, that does bring us to the end of this very first class in this short season of the Rewatch podcast. I hope that you will come at us with your thoughts and feelings. We would love to hear from you in between our chunks of episodes. We'll be happy to share your takes on the very next chat. With that, it's time to plug some socials and say goodnight. Randy, can you tell the folks where they can find more Media Lit out in the world?
Yeah, well, our Remedial Rewatch is just one of many branches of Media Lit, so please keep checking us out here. And also hop on over to the Pop Break. Check out my entertainment writing over there. Check me out on every pod you cast and Pod of Doom, and our upcoming Beck podcast, which I am thrilled about because Beck is my favorite artist of all time. And yeah, we'll see you over there on the Pop Break feed.
Very, very good. And what about you, Tyler? Where can the folks find you and more of your work in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. If you liked this episode, please go back. The Media Lit library is extensive, and every single time there's a cool person on there. But if you like listening to me, as Kris mentioned up top, I'm so proud of the Are You Afraid of the Dark episode. And the Wild America episodes. I think those were just such fun properties, and I love the way those podcasts came out. So if you want more of me and these guys, please go listen to those episodes. If you want more of me in general, first of all, thank you. Second of all, I do a podcast with my wife on the Pop Break feed. So if you follow the Pop Break, where you're going to find all of Randy's cool shows, Kris's cool shows, you'll also find Not Couple Goals, the podcast where me and my wife talk about the best and the worst in romantic thriller cinema. We've done a lot of classics like A Perfect Murder, Wild Things, but we also try to be sort of on the cutting edge, like the new A Simple Favor and the sequel to A Simple Favor. We're trying to do the new ones, the old ones, the classics. We go all over the road. It's been just Ali and I for a while, but we're hoping to get some guests back soon. And honestly, I'd love to have you both, and we can talk about promoting this Communicast with a fun Not Couple Goals appearance.
Dude, you just named the date, and we will be there with bells on.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, very good. Folks, as I said, if you do want to continue this conversation, you want to yell stuff at us that we missed, our inbox is always open. You can email the podcast at media.slash.lit@gmail.com. And if you want to find more of me in the world besides Media Lit, I'm also the co-host of Batman by the Numbers, a monthly podcast for thepopbreak.com. We love to just go deep on all things Dark Knight. This year, we're in more of our world's finest era, talking about Superman and a little bit more DC TV and other broad categories of the gun era. We just recorded an episode talking about the first 6 episodes of Peacemaker. Tune in for that. Look for it in the Pop Break podcast feed in the month of October. And aside from the podcasts, I'm also a father and a husband. I'm an actor and a voice actor. You can find me doing those things on Instagram and Blue Sky at Kris_Ingersoll. And that's Kris, spelled like Kringle. That will do it for this session of the classroom. Class dismissed.
Late.
Pop, pop.